a very good afternoon to all. This is Shrikant Bachau, and on behalf of the International Advertising Association India chapter, I welcome you to this sensitization session on the real estate in digitalized world, which of course you see here. We're fortunate enough to have speakers from Google and Group M today to enlighten us on this topic. Today's function is supported by Deshdoot and Credai. And once again, a warm welcome. Power of advertisement is something that has never been missed out, my dear friends. Let us go back probably 20 years when स्कूटरला जेव्हा ऑन लागायचा तेव्हा सुद्धा हमारा बजाज नावाची जाहिरात होतीच. So the advertisement scenario has always been, all of us, even as school children, I remember we used to keep watching at the Amul holdings because they used to change every week or every 10 days. Something new coming, and it still is on. It still is on. The Amul holdings still keep changing. Parle Ji is immortal. The Jahirat, the girl on that. Boost is the secret of my energy, where we saw Kapil Dev even as kids. So idealistic, identifying idols in advertisements, kids trying to idolize the superheroes of sports. And in fact I also remember one very nice ad where you had the Cadbury's girl dancing on the field on the cricket maidan. So of course that was not idolizing, but it had a different meaning. Come back to the present world, let's see. And Mr. Shashank Srivastava, who is the CGM for marketing for Maruti, and I'm sure most of you have seen this ad, the small Sardarji, the kid playing with the car, and petrol to khatam hi nahi hoinda iska. So now, is that kid going to drive the car? Not at all. And today, if you see many advertisements, the focus is on kids. The products may not be for kids. So the focus is changing. Kiska attention grab karna chahiye? The definitions have changed, the concepts have changed. You'll find a car advertisement where the schoolboy asks his friends to hop in for a lift back home. So things are changing and the focus is changing. And of course the media is changing. And in fact, this particular media is what we'll be talking about today. The two stalwarts who are here will be talking about this media and the benefits of this media and why we should be involved in this particular media. Talking about the IAA, it's founded in 1991, and this body actually works as it informs, it inspires, and it empowers individuals to reach out, and more importantly, it enables the consumers to probably identify the right of knowledge and to make informed choices. The best part for today's evening, my dear friends, is that IAA has for the first time, आपण ज्याला सिमोल्लंघन म्हणतो मराठीत, it has come out of the tier 1 cities, the metros, and Nashik has been identified as the first tier 2 city where they have actually come down with their concept of this advertisement concept. Before we actually proceed, I think we have a film on the IAA, and we'll see the film, take a look at the film, and then we'll proceed with the program. Thank you.
The International Advertising Association is a worldwide network of the most inspirational marketing and advertising professionals that sets and maintains the standards in the industry. Celebrating its Platinum Jubilee this year, the IAA has grown into a recognized force in the marketing and communications industry, represented in 76 countries around the world. The India chapter of IAA is 22 years old. In the year 2012-2013, taking the global vision forward, Mr. Srinivasan K. Swami, President of the Indian chapter of IAA, with a team of industry legends, propelled IAA India towards several new milestones. In February 2013, the IAA India chapter announced its first ever IAA Leadership Awards to honor individuals in the fields of marketing, advertising and the media. The grand event was presented by one of India's leading entertainment channels, Colors. The IAA's Gender Sensitization Seminar focused against violence on women. several well-known names brought their relevant insight towards the nuances involved in women-related communication and how not to typify representation of women in media. In April 2013, the third annual IAA Olive Crown Awards, the country's first and only awards celebrating green advertising and creativity in communicating sustainability, were presented at a glittering ceremony in Mumbai. The entire industry enthusiastically participated in it. In another interesting initiative, IAA Debates, industry stalwarts came together with new perspectives to discuss a wide variety of business issues at the IAA Debates. These debates have been held in Mumbai, Delhi, Goa and Bangalore. IAA used the power of the internet by conducting many webinars under the theme "The World Goes Digital." This series was aimed at connecting professional marketers and agencies with trends, strategies and success stories so that many others can learn to exploit this evolving medium. In a first of its kind, IAA conducted an industry-specific seminar, Real Estate in a Digitized World. In August, a galaxy of Indian and international speakers covered various aspects of the digital medium and focused on the ways to leverage them to the advantage of the realty sector. IAA Curious Digi Yatra in Goa saw over 1,200 delegates and an impressive lineup of illustrious speakers demonstrated how vital changes on the communication platforms can be brought about through the digital medium. The IAA Platinum Jubilee Global Marketing Summit saw many leading professionals from across the world sharing their experiences on how to get brands future-ready and focused on global next practices that will help businesses stay one step ahead of the competition. IAA India today is seen as amongst the most vibrant chapters in the globe and also amongst the foremost industry body in India. IAA India looks to the industry's full support to get more relevant and purposeful as it moves forward.
Thank you so much, and I'm quite sure that the next time this film is shown, Nashik also will be featured in the film, because if you remember the names of Goa, Mumbai, Bangalore and Delhi. So it's a good initiative by the IAA, and as I mentioned right at the onset that yes, Nashik happens to be the first place that the IAA has come in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Kudos for the initiative now. Take it ahead from here. We have a person with us who is the board member of IAA today, a person whose name is synonymous with the advertising world, who has had a career of illustrious business career of almost 23 years. So founder, member of Canco Advertising Private Limited. This company has handled accounts for SDFC, ONGC, BPCL, Union Bank. A person who has been very active even outside business in his business fraternity, member of the Advertising Agencies Association of India, the Ad Club Bombay, and in fact a person who has been very instrumental in arranging and organizing the Ad Asia 2003. In fact, the list goes on. But most importantly, he's a person who is true to his own word, a word which he gave to himself, that he will probably come out of active business at the age of 50 and dedicate the rest of his career for the betterment of and the benefit of his industry, the advertising fraternity. I would now call upon the person himself, Mr. Ramesh Narayanan, to express his views and the opening remarks, please. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words. Hello friends, good afternoon and a welcome. After lunch, it's a nice way to say, I think, good afternoon in that way. Thank you. You all, I think, heard and also had a look at the film about the IAA. So I won't go into that, except to say that apart from the advertiser community, the advertising agency community, the media community, who are all constituents of the IAA, the IAA has been also, as you saw, rather active in doing what we call as good. And the reason is that we have always felt that good is actually good for all things, including business. So we have had our environment initiatives, we've had women's empowerment initiatives, we've had initiatives to make people go to vote in the last election, though I don't think anybody had to be actually made to go to vote in the last election. At least everybody was in a mood to vote. But these are all the activities that the IAA has done, and here it's a very special day for all of us at the IAA, because we have on the one hand tier 2 cities where we've always felt that the real growth is there now. All the larger cities are there, of course, and they will have growth, but the real growth will be here. On the other hand, you have this bold, new, let me say new media yet, but the relatively new media, actually digital, which for all these years we used to always hear that digital will be the biggest, it will be the most exciting. In the UK, the ad spend is already the biggest in that field now, digital. Number 1 is actually digital in the whole of the UK. Television is 2. Number 3 is print. So it's not as if it will happen, it has happened. So I think with the advent of inexpensive mobile technology, we are already hearing about Chinese phones at 12,000 rupees, which have all the things in them, features in them. You could soon have 4G also being rolled out across the country. With these things here, I'm sure digital will again leapfrog. It won't go in that kind of a linear route. It will just explode in the next about a year, 18 months maybe. And to talk about that, of course, we are extremely, I think, fortunate to have with us Trishul and of course Sashi, who has come all the way from Gurgaon here. So I'm very, very happy that they are there. And I must thank 2 important people here who have actually put together this entire event. Number 1 is my friend, actually, Janak Sarda. And can you please stand, Janak? He is also what I would call the sort of younger face of the IAA. So he is here today. I'm glad that he and his group, of course, Deshdoot, have actually sponsored this. And the other one is, of course, Jayesh Thakkar. Could you please stand, Jayesh ji? Credai. And I'd like to thank all of you all for being here today. All the very best. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Now that the names have been announced as well, and by protocol as well, I think we should begin this by first felicitating the persons who are here, the people who have spared their time, who have traveled a distance, the people who have facilitated this entire evening. So I would request Narayanan sir to felicitate first Mr. Trishul Bhumkar of Group M, who is a speaker for today's function. Mr. Trishul. Big round of applause. I would now request Mr. Narayanan to felicitate Mr. Shashi Tripathi. It's a small memento, token of our genuine gratitude and appreciation. Thank you. And the two people who have made this evening possible by supporting the IIA and in fact coercing them to probably come down to Nashik and make it easier for them. Firstly, Mr. Jayesh Bhai Thakkar, who is the president of CREDAI Nashik. And of course, Vikram Bhau Sarda sir from Deshdoot. Deshdoot and CREDAI have made it seriously possible in Nashik this time. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I would now like to invite Mr. Jayesh Thakkar to express his views for a minute.
Good evening, friends. In fact, it's a pleasure that Janak called me the other day, saying that this seminar could be conducted here in Nashik. And it is for the first time which has been held in Tier 3 city. So I thank Janak for organizing this and wish that everybody gains much of a knowledge from this initiative taken by him. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. All of us know or are quite aware of how Nashik has grown over the last 2 or 3 decades. In fact, I came to live on College Road way back in 1978 and engineering la जेव्हा मी होतो 89 to 93. Every time I used to come back, I studied in Karad and every time I used to come back to Nashik, कॉलेज रोडचं एक कुठली तरी बिल्डिंग पडलेली असायची, एक नवीन उभी राहिलेली असायची. इनफॅक्ट तेव्हा आर्चिसच्या बिल्डिंगमध्ये ते तर जगा वेगळी इमारत होती तेव्हा आपल्यासाठी. वा 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 काय बिल्डिंग. सो इट हॅज बीन चेंजिंग कंटिन्युअसली and to come to think of it, Nashik is now being looked upon as a destination by people. Second home destination म्हणून नाशकात आज इन्व्हेस्टर्स भरपूर आलेले आहेत. Spending power has gone up. People are ready to spend money, and the world, in fact, is now a village, a very big village. It's no longer people have come close, which also emphasizes the fact that we all should be in touch. We should be going out. We should be reaching out to people. That is precisely why we have our 2 speakers today, because they are in that line. And it is an absolute pleasure to introduce to you all the first speaker for today's evening, Mr. Trishul Bhumkar. Born and brought up in Nashik, born in Nashik. Yes, born in Nashik, brought up in Nashik. BYK's a product ahe. He did his MBA from JDC Bitco IMSR, and I've known him since God knows how many years. College Road ची ओळख आहे, कट्ट्याची ओळख आहे. So it's a nice job, and it's an absolute pleasure to introduce him here. Welcome back to Nashik for this special evening, Trishul. Well, he spent almost 13 years in media management now. He started his career with ETV Networks as a sales manager. And then after that, for 4 years, he was with Madison Communication, did the media planning for Coca-Cola, Domino's, and Marico Industries. 2007, he joined Maxis, which is a Group M company. And for the last 6 years, for 6 years from 2007, he was heading the Vodafone media planning when he was working with Maxis. And also he had the buying duties at Maxis. Currently, he is now with Motivator, which is again a Group M company, and he's heading the Western Zone for that particular company, for Group M. This is the professional aspect. A firebrand person, definitely. A taskmaster. बस हे करायचं आहे, typical college road ची भाषा. हे करायचं आहे तर करायचं आहे. Because this is a personal introduction. And very, very enthusiastic, very well read, awareness level खूप चांगली आहे. अँड आय नो तुम्हाला एक प्रश्न पडला असेल की BY काय सांगितलंय पहिले आणि हा सगळंच असं कसं काय बोलतोय मग पण प्रॉब्लेम असा आहे की तो ब्लॅक बेल्ट आहे कराटेमध्ये, त्याच्यामुळे मला 7 वाजेनंतर आय विल हॅव टू वॉच आउट. सो दिस इज वेअर आय एंड अँड आय डोंट स्पीक मच. वेलकम त्रिशूल, वेलकम, द स्टेज इज युअर्स.
So, good evening, dignitaries, and thank you, Srikanth, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to stand in front of you and share of some views. Through the next 20 minutes or so, what I have put together for all of you is a small snapshot of what is this all digital about. Is it pure play enthusiasm of marketeers, or does it make business sense to be present in that medium? But before that, I'll try to give you a small insight into who we are. So I represent a company called Group M, and Group M is made up of some agencies. One of the agency is Motivator. I head the West business for it. Motivator is an agency which is present only in India, otherwise all other agencies of Group M are multinationals. Why is it so? Because Motivator is an agency which has been started to work with Indian entrepreneurs across the country and not necessarily only with multinational companies. So it has a specific purpose, and that's the reason you see me in this room and not anybody else. Group M put together controls about 42% of the Indian media spending. So if 100 rupees is being spent in the country on media, about 42 rupees is spent through Group M. That is the kind of scale that this company operates in. So there are about 450 clients for whom we do advertising, media planning and buying. Specifically on Motivator, these are some of the businesses that we handle. Havels is our flagship business. It's a story when about 8 years ago, when the company was 500 crores, we were taken in as partners. Today it's a 6,500 crore company and we still are partnering with them. So these kind of Indian growth stories are what Motivator stands for. These are some of the clients that we have won in the last 12 months or so, in which I need to specifically mention one business that we have won, which is called Quick Heal Technologies. By the sound of it, it seems to be a multinational. It's a Pune-based company running about 220 crores of sales turnover in antivirus, mobile antivirus and desktop antivirus, present in 20 countries. It's a company started by a gentleman called Mr. Kailash Katkar. Two brothers run the company. They are up for an IPO of about 1,200 crores in the next 12 months or so. So these are the stories which reside in a setup like Group M and Motivator. So that's that. So let's get down to business. Any businessman, any marketeer requires these three things for his business. He wants awareness for his products. लोकांना माहिती पाहिजे आपला ब्रँड काय आहे, आपला प्रोडक्ट काय आहे. जेव्हा तो विकत घ्यायला जाईल तेव्हा कन्सिडरेशन सेटमध्ये आपला ब्रँड असला पाहिजे. And finally, sale effect व्हायला पाहिजे. These are the three things that any marketeer is looking for. And all marketing activity is revolving around this. Awareness साठी usually advertising केलं जातं. पेपरमध्ये जाहिरात दिली की लोकांना कळतं की हा एक ब्रँड आहे. कन्सिडरेशनमध्ये ॲड किती पर्स्युएसिव्ह आहे किंवा ऑफर किती पर्स्युएसिव्ह आहे त्याच्यावरनं कन्सिडरेशन डिटरमाइन होतं. आणि सेल्ससाठी भरपूर काही ॲडिशनल गोष्टी लागतात. बट द फॅक्ट ऑफ द मॅटर रिमेन्स, कुठलंही मार्केटिंग इनपुट आपण जेव्हा इनिशिएट करू तेव्हा आपल्याला या तीन गोष्टी पाहिजेत. अवेअरनेस, कन्सिडरेशन ऑफ माय ब्रँड वेन यू आर मेकिंग अ परचेस डिसिजन, अँड ॲक्च्युअली परचेसिंग माय ब्रँड. दीज आर द थ्री थिंग्स दॅट वी रिक्वायर. अँड दिस होल्ड्स ट्रू फॉर एनी कॅटेगरी. म्हणजे असं ते रिअल इस्टेटला ॲप्लिकेबल नाही आहे, सगळ्यांना ह्या तीन गोष्टी पाहिजेत. I've just tried to map the consumer's journey in this awareness to consideration to actual sale. The consumer sees the ad, he becomes aware. मग तो थोडा रिसर्च करतो कुठल्याही ब्रँडबद्दल किंवा प्रोडक्टबद्दल. ते रिसर्च लोकांशी बोलून असू शकतं, मित्राला विचारलं कुठली गाडी घ्यायची, ही गाडी चांगली का ती गाडी. इट कॅन बी एनी फॉर्म ऑफ रिसर्च. देन ही फॉर्म्स अ व्ह्यू ऑफ 2 or 3 ब्रँड्स. देन ही इव्हॅल्युएट्स. इथे प्राईस कन्सिडरेशन असू शकतं, इथे विकत घेण्याची सोय किती चांगली आहे ते असू शकतं, आफ्टर सेल सर्व्हिस असू शकतं, बरेच काय असू शकतं. अँड फायनली आयदर मेक्स अ डिसिजन इन फेवर ऑफ अ ब्रँड or against a brand. This is the journey. The ignition point is I see an ad and the whole journey goes through. Media or advertising introduction, when it has to be done, we need to see whether it influences all of these stages and not just generates awareness. Ideally आपल्याला काय पाहिजे, माझी ॲड बघितली की इमिजिएटली कन्सिडरेशनमध्ये माझा प्रोडक्ट आला पाहिजे आणि सेल माझ्या फेवरमध्ये असला पाहिजे. ते करण्यासाठी हे मीडियम्स अवेलेबल आहेत आपल्याकडे. टेलिव्हिजन आहे ज्याची रीच 84% आहे. दिस इज ऑल इंडिया लेवल. डेलीज आहे, मॅगझिन आहे, रेडिओ आहे, इंटरनेट आहे, सिनेमा आहे, आउटडोर आहे. सगळ्यांची रीच चांगली आहे. गिवन बजेट असतील, एव्हरी ब्रँड वुड वॉन्ट टू ॲडव्हर्टाईज ऑन ऑल ऑफ दीज मीडियम टू हॅव अ ग्रँडर. The key point is why digital, you will get answered in the next 2 or 3 sentences. Digital is the only medium which can give you awareness to consideration to actual sale. Television will give you only awareness. Print will give you only consideration or maybe some sale action. But digital is the only medium in which the entire process can be done at one go. And that is the beauty of this medium. म्हणजे ॲड पाहिली, अवेअर, क्लिक केलं, इन्फॉर्मेशन मिळाली वेबसाईटवरती, कन्सिडरेशन सेट, आय वॉन्ट टू बाय, आय एम इंटरेस्टेड, ईमेल आय डी टाकला, इमिजिएटली फ्लायर आलं. दिस ईज ऑफ क्लोजिंग अ सेल स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम अवेअरनेस टू ॲक्च्युअल सेल इज पॉसिबल ओनली इन द डिजिटल मीडियम. डिजिटल म्हणजे इंटरनेट, म्हणजे इट कॅन बी युअर वेबसाईट, इट कॅन बी गुगल, इट कॅन बी यूट्यूब, इट कॅन बी वॉट एव्हर. And this, when superseded to our category, the business that we are speaking of, in which sale is the most important thing, because everything is very localized. एका कॅचमेंटमध्ये आपल्याला करायचं आहे. The sales gestation period is pretty large. त्याच्यामध्ये keeping yourself in the consideration set is the most critical thing. फक्त अवेअरनेस करून चालेल. म्हणून ॲडव्हर्टायझिंगचा रोल रिअल इस्टेटमध्ये फक्त अवेअरनेसचा नाही आहे. आणि तो रोल जर नसेल तर प्रिंट, मॅगझिन, रेडिओ, सिनेमा, आउटडोर हे स्टँड अलोन आपल्यासाठी रेकमेंडेड नाही आहे. ॲज अ रिअल इस्टेट मार्केटियर, इफ आय वॉज लुकिंग ॲट इट, मला फक्त अवेअरनेस करून काहीच मिळणार नाही. कारण मी आय एम कॉम्पिटिंग विथ मल्टिपल पीपल फॉर अ स्मॉल कॅचमेंट एरिया अँड देर इज ओनली गोइंग टू बी वन चान्स फॉर मी टू क्लोज द सेल. सो दॅट्स वाय, दॅट इज द रिझन वाय डिजिटल. That is the reason why we are here in this room and saying, okay, digital, the real estate industry needs to look at it. But is it big? While it can give me a entire sales process at one go, is it big enough? In the next 2 or 3 slides, we'll just have some small data points to say what is the kind of scale that internet has gained in the country. Out of 340 million urban users, म्हणजे 34 crore urban लोकांपैकी 14 कोटी urban लोक इंटरनेट यूज करतात ॲट वन पॉईंट ऑफ टाईम ऑर द अदर. इंटरनेटचा बेस 140 मिलियन आहे, 14 कोटी. ACC A1+ म्हणजे जो माणूस 50 लाखाचं घर विकत घेऊ शकतो ह्याची एक डेफिनेशन आहे ACC म्हणून, सोशो इकॉनॉमिक क्लासिफिकेशन. ते 33 मिलियन आहेत. म्हणजे तो दॅट 33 मिलियनच्या पेक्षाही खूप मोठा बेस आहे इंटरनेटचा. तो 33 मिलियन 140 मिलियनमध्ये कवर्ड आहे. म्हणजे ACC Aला टार्गेट करण्यासाठी असा माणूस जो 50-60 लाख रुपयाचं घर विकत घेऊ शकतो तो त्याच्यामध्ये ऑलरेडी इन्क्लुडेड आहे. मॅक्सिमम ॲडव्हर्टायझिंग जी रिअल इस्टेटची होते ती प्रिंटमध्ये होते. बट इफ यू लुक ॲट द रीच ऑफ प्रिंट, इट इज 38 मिलियन. इंग्लिश प्रिंट इन द कंट्री इज 38 मिलियन, बट द इंटरनेट बेस इज 140 मिलियन. म्हणजे 3.8 crores प्रिंट, इंग्लिश प्रिंटची रीच आहे. इंटरनेट इज अबाउट 14 crores. सो द साईज इज ह्यूज. फेसबुकवरती डेली 10 मिलियन लोक येतात इंडियामध्ये. टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया ऑल इंडिया एडिशनची रीच 7.5 मिलियन. सो फेसबुक इज बिगर दॅन टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया in terms of daily reach. YouTube reach per day is 22 million. On television, in a day, you will get about 33 million people. The whole point about saying, so the biggest point is, hey, internet consumption फक्त laptops आणि desktops वर होत नाही आहे. A large amount of consumption is happening on the go on tablets and mobile phones. So that those two, this is a concept which we called as multi-screen planning. So it's not about only the television screen. There are multiple screens that the consumer is consuming media on, and you have to be present. And internet consumption on multiple screens is very big. Time spent on internet हे सगळ्या countries, I'm not sure whether ते दिसतंय, सगळ्या countriesचं time spent आहे on digital versus other mediums. It is clear that the daily time spent on digital for a ACC A audience is far more higher than television or print or anything. So which means that, yeah, it is big. So one is it serves my business purpose. It can help me close a loop of not only awareness but leading up to sales. It has got scale. What does it do for the real estate marketer? So all India number असेल 14 कोटी. What is it in for a person who is selling accommodation apartments in Nashik? So there are two. So in the next 2 or 3 slides, I'll take you through some actionable things that a real estate marketer in Nashik can do with digital and make use of it. 3 things we require. One is awareness for any of the project that each one of you have. Demand generation. And third, which according to us is the most important, is demand management. So when we say digital or internet marketing or anything, the ecosystem is made up of 5 or 6 things. The first one is SEO. It's a process known as search engine optimization, in which if I type 2 BHK residential apartments in Nashik on Google, Shrikant is a real estate marketer. Shrikant would want his website as the number 1 in the Google search result. For that, you have to work on your website, and that website needs to come up in ranking. So if I type, give me a name of a real estate, Nirman. Yeah, Ashiana Properties. So if I am a marketer of Ashiana Properties in Nashik, and somebody types in, I want a 2 BHK in Nashik, Ashiana Properties would want its website to be at the top, so that the first click which happens, I am into the consideration set. You have caught me. The marketer has caught the consumer when he's searching for 2 BHK apartments in Nashik. That is a process called search engine optimization, which is a very internal stuff. We have to work on your website and ensure that it is Google friendly in simple terms. The second is SEM, which is where Shashi would be shedding some more light in detail, which is called search engine marketing. So if I'm typing 2 BHK residential apartment in Nashik, I not only want my ad to be at top, the number 1, I also want my ad to come right at the top before my website comes in, so that my competition doesn't come and place an ad when I am coming number 1. Am I coming clear? Yeah. Because what will happen is if my website is coming as number 1 when I'm searching, my competition can buy ad space, and that's where Google makes money. So I don't want that. So for that, search engine marketing is something that an advertiser can do. The third thing is social media, which currently from a real estate point of view seems to be a nascent idea, which is do I have a Facebook page or do I advertise on Facebook? But there are many case studies in the country where sales leads are generated at the back of social media advertising. And the final one is display, which is normal advertising. Like you are advertising on print, you are also advertising on Hotmail or on Gmail or on Yahoo. It's normal advertising. So this is the entire ecosystem which is available. And I'm setting up some utilities of each one of them from a point of view of real estate marketing, specific to Nashik. Times of India, about 8 million people read Times of India. The reach of Times of India for you will be about 8 million. That's 80 lakhs. If you take a Western region kind of edition one. Actually, in alternatively, you can also place ads on the Times of India mobile app or the Times of India website. The advantage being here, you will get your exposure and your awareness. Over there, you will not only get your exposure, if they click, they can come to your website. And immediately you can catch that customer and try to convert him by giving him as much information about your product. Second is, this is one of the projects that we are doing for a real estate marketer in Mumbai, Neelkant developers. So what they are saying is that we do not want to show full page ads in Times of India or Times Property, showing the interiors of how we have done up the flat. So what we are doing is we are making a 3-minute, which is a walkthrough into a sample flat, and which demonstrates how it has been built And that we are putting it back onto YouTube and trying to promote it. So anybody searches for residential flats in Thana, their project is in Thana, they will get served this video. And at the back of, it's like your brochure, but it's on digital. But the beauty of it is that you're serving the brochure only to the guy who's looking out for the product that you have. So that is the second level of product detailing that can be done. The third and the most important thing, and I think you should all have this number in your mind, hard engraved, hardwired. All over India, there are 15,000 searches happening for keywords like 2 BHK residential apartments in Nashik. And every time I'm searching for those keywords, against this 15,000 searches, only aggregators are coming. So your makan.com is serving, their websites are coming or they are serving ads. So which means the aggregator is actually building on to a keyword which is actually most relevant to you. Ideally, if I was a real estate marketer in Nashik, I don't want makan.com to sell my house. I actually would want to do the sale myself. But the aggregators have done a good job of SEO and SEM, and they are featuring more. So now 15,000 as a number from a total real estate category seems low. But the more you do this and the more you do this number will keep increasing. There is a synergy between your advertising and the search volumes which come for keywords related to your advertising. So if you advertise on let's say Times of India, on that day search volumes for keywords relevant to you will go up, and therefore your possibility of getting in more consumers will go up. The whole point is so that's why the ecosystem works in synergy with each other. It is not singular like I have done a press ad and I'm out of it. Search volume is dependent on all the advertising that you do and some good amount of optimization. This is, if you ask me, if I was sitting in a marketing office in a real estate company, this is the first thing that I want to cap, because there are 15,000 people who are looking out for houses in Nashik, and the person who is the property owner is actually not doing anything about it. It is makan.com who is going and trying to convert these guys. Of course, the sale eventually will come to you, but it's like saying in a retail store there are 50 brands of biscuits. How do I become the number one brand in consideration set? If we do all of this in some shape and proportion, we can be at a higher consideration set. That is the demand management part of it. In total, if I were to sum up my entire discourse right now, I would say advertising in real estate should not only be about awareness or exposures, it has to have a business orientation. When I say business orientation, I mean sale. And at the back of these two approaches, there is a high chance that the latent demand which has not yet gotten tapped by most marketers, the only website that I'm seeing is coming up somewhere close in top 2 or 3 from Nashik is Nirman Group. So Nirman Group is coming at the number 3 position when I type 2 BHK residential apartment. But that number 3 also, see, because on Google it is said that if you're not top 2, you're not there. If a brand is not top 2, then he's not there. Forget not on top page. So at the back of both of these, you can generate awareness. You can get the same awareness converted to a consideration set for your property or the project that you have, and you can also try to effect a sale. So some of the large real estate players end up doing campaigns on digital which are performance based. We call them performance marketing, which means that the advertiser says, here is 50 lakh rupee worth of media money that you have, burn it. You have to commit me leads. You have to commit me 1,000 leads. The real estate, the marketer will convert the leads, but the fact remains that you can have a cost per lead based performance campaign also. So, which you don't have in print. And that's why it will only give you awareness, it will not give you a conversion. Now this individual can do for his own company. Yeah, the individual can do, individual company owner can do it for himself, or maybe you as a consortium of real estate marketeers can do it for Nashik as a destination. and maybe make better use of the media monies instead of individually trying to win the battle, 15, 20 guys trying to win that battle, maybe it makes imminent sense as a starting point at least to do it as a consortium. But the fact remains that this brand wagon has already set in, and real estate, there are some large deals that Google does with real estate marketers across the country, and most of them are performance, which means that you don't pay till you don't get a lead. So, gentlemen, this is the final chart, and I think this is what I want to leave with you as a thought. Thank you very much. If there is anything that you would want to ask me, you have that later? Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Trishul. Thank you so much. आकडे सांगितले की बरं वाटतं जरा, म्हणजे अचानक जाग येते आपल्याला. 15,000 for him sitting in Mumbai may not be a large number. 15,000 searches only for Nashik, but that converts into 500 searches per day, which for our kind of market, which is a growing market, a tier 2 city, it's a big number all said and done. आणि आपल्याला ती सवय पण लागलेली आहे, कशाची काही माहिती नसली की माय एम्प्लॉईज ऑलवेज की काही सांगितलं, अरे जरा ह्याचं मशीन टूल्स मधलं जरा फाइंड आउट दिस चक. 15 मिनिटात अ प्रिंट आउट इज रेडी. ही गेट्स मी अ प्रिंट, अ फोटो. किधर से लाया? गूगल बाबा की जय हो. काही सांगितलं की गूगल बाबा की जय हो, एवढंच उत्तर मिळतं. यू टाईप एनिथिंग, यू गेट दी रिक्वायर्ड इन्फॉर्मेशन. बट आई वॉज इन फॉर अ रूड शॉक येस्टरडे. वो अपने बाबा लोगों की इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं देता है गूगल कभी. I was trying to, because Trishul on one hand, yes, I have known him, I wanted to talk about him. I also have to talk about Mr. Shashi Tripathi, and I tried to, because this is absolutely normal. I typed Shashi Tripathi, Google says no, you have got no access to this person. I said, come on yaar, unko Nashik leke aayenge hum, usme kya hai. So, but then I happened to watch him on a film, because he's spoken at the CEO business thing at Kotak Mahindra, and this person is, if these are figures, itun figure se khad yetil ata. Because I got one thing for sure, this guy is a figures man. Knows what he's talking, got the figures at the back of his hand. Millions वगैरे ह्यांना काही वाटतच नाही, बेसिकली प्रॉब्लेम तो आहे. त्यांचे मिलियन्स वगैरे असे धडाधड निघत असतात. Spanning a career of almost 15 years, he's from Bombay. He's born and brought up in Bombay, studied in Mumbai, spent around 8 years in Europe, and then he's now back. And with Google, he's been around for 3 years, if I'm not wrong, 3 years with Google. And one thing that I loved him say was that when you want to increase your market base, it's true that today's generation is the tech-savvy generation, but then where are the new people coming from? And that is because the people who have studied before the 80s are now latching on. That is one concept that I heard him say, and it hit me here. So the fundamentals are absolutely clear, and I think a few figures that he was mentioned, I think he strongly believes in the E quotient, and get ready for, strong advocate of usage of net as a medium. Believe me, he's a great orator, and it is probably the clarity of thought that he has which finally translates in the clarity of speech as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have extreme pleasure in inviting Mr. Shashi Tripathi from Google for his keynote presentation here. And
well, it's a difficult act to follow. Bhumkar is a local boy, so he has local support, right? Where's Trishul? Trishul is going to be a tough act. Good afternoon, guys. I grew up in Bombay, so I'll start. Namaskar, Mandali. Mala jasta Marathi yet nahi, but I can manage. I remember when I started in Bombay, the reason I learned Marathi was I couldn't get change. You board a best bus to go to the college, and you want to change. If you give him a $50 note and say, "Conductor साहब छुट्टा नहीं है, अगले station पे उतर जाओ, अगले bus stop पे उतर जाओ." But the moment you said, "Master सुट्टे नहीं आए," the guy was very keen, and he could, somewhere and from somewhere, those changes used to come out typically. So that was primarily the reason. But of course, within our curriculum, second and third language was Marathi, so you had to learn, read, and write. Unfortunately, during my 25 years that I spent in Bombay, I could never ever visit Nashik. So thanks to everybody, right from the Credai team, right to AAI team, right to the Deshdoot team, right, that we got this opportunity to come down here. Thanks for this opportunity. My job in Google is very simple. I'll start with that and probably then explain you through what Google does and stuff like that. I'm a sales guy, guys. I'm not a marketeer. I'm not an advertiser. I'm a sales guy. I have always been a sales guy for the 15 years that I have been working. I have been a sales guy. And that's what I do in Google as well. Google has a set of guys which grows accounts, builds accounts, services accounts, and then there is a team which acquires new accounts. My team does that. It's a tough job because whosoever wanted to advertise on digital are already on. The guys who have to now convince are the guys who are now coming onto the bandwagon and you try to find it out. So that's my job. That's what I do. I have a small team of about 15 people who reach out to new customers. We get them on board and then try to grow them. So by definition, I'm a sales guy. I'm not a marketer, not an advertiser, something that I'll go around and do that. Google, a great company. I love Google for lot of reasons, but the simple reason that you do is because they do big things. The last thing that I remember was Google floated an X number of balloons to provide internet to people all across the world. They were piloting that typical part of it. They acquired a company called as Calico, which is trying to increase the span of life, right? They have a company, or rather trying to do where they're figuring it out, where the cars can move on their own, driverless cars. So other than doing what we do, the best part of Google is they take big steps. They think 20 years beyond, 30 years beyond, and probably trying to figure out what the world will be. People like this shape, but the simple reason is they are able to do that because people have given them a lot of money today so they can think for 20 years and 30 years beyond, right? We shouldn't forget that out, right? And to keep our feet on the ground, it is important. That's what I say. That what Google has made or whatever it has, there's a very, very big story of whether Google is a guy or a woman, and we always say Google is a woman because it nurtures. It nurtures big businesses, it nurtures small businesses, it gives you wings, it gives you access, probably wherever you wanted to reach out at any point in time. That's what this organization has done, and that's why it has been successful. So the fundamentals have always been allow people access, help them scale, help them increase the reach, and that's what business will happen. Okay, that's about Google, that's about myself. Very quickly, let's talk about this. I think the opportunity was pretty right. There was a report that Google did with Zenov Research, and I think we will talk about few things. It was very much related to real estate. The advent is we'll talk about few things from those, some stats, some numbers. I have deliberately kept off Google products, but I'm here, you can talk and we can discuss anything which you believe will make sense to you. More importantly, we can talk about it. This is your industry, which makes sense to me, right? When I look at the real estate industry of India, this is how it looks like today, typically, and what we are expecting it to double in probably 3 years' time. Standing in 2014, those are the stats, and that's why it is interesting for Google. And players like you all constitute this part of the business. This is your business. I don't have much understanding of it. The only thing that I know, it's growing. It's set to grow, and it will continue growing. Right? This is my business. Internet users is what Google serves. Internet users is what have made Google what they are. Typical, these numbers are currently sitting at around 235 million. While we ended 2013 at somewhere around 200 million odd users, every month after that, India has been adding 4 million users. Right? And this is where the number stands at if the projections continue growing and doing and drive that. And I'm sure, right, first time Reliance gave a mobile phone in everybody's hand, and I'm seriously hoping with the advent of Jio, if Jio launches out and life changes across, everybody will have a 3G connection within their phones, right? And that's where the real revolution will begin across. Today, it's still, these numbers are huge, but it is still very much confined because of price, because of other issues. And there are lots of players, guys. There are 3 or 4 trends which I want to harp upon on this so that all of you realize why this medium is important. I don't know how many of you have seen an ad of Micromax which says there are 21 languages. There's a very recent ad which they have cropped up. There are phones which are coming up which support 21 languages, right? Google is trying to write and build up Android phones which will help you allow and build content in multiple languages. This internet or this user base is mostly English. But people here within this country, entrepreneurs within this country who are working on devices are changing that, and that's going to set to change. The moment this barrier breaks and reaches out, right, and goes beyond English, that's where the real power of this medium is going to come from. There's a very interesting study which NIIT did, and I don't know when was it, where was it, I read it somewhere. They installed, okay, an English computer in a slum. Nobody there was educated, nobody knew what had to be done, but everybody, the kids around there in that particular area, figured out how this freaking machine works. And they started using it. That has what exactly has happened with internet, with mobile. Nobody taught how people to use mobile, right, in India. But they all figured out how it has to happen. Today they are moving on to the internet. A watchman, a person starts sitting out in any part of the world, or any league of across, they know. People come up and they're launching onto the web through the Facebook part of the business, trying to figure out various things, right? A very amazing example, I'm sure all of you know of WhatsApp, the $19 billion company which got acquired. How it is implying within the business story. The reason I'm putting it, these are 3 or 4 trends. Chandni Chowk, all of you know of Chandni Chowk, right? Chandni Chowk, none of the business owners who sit out there are net savvy. They are not internet savvy. They don't have a website, but they still use the internet to drive business worth lakhs and lakhs of rupees. What they have done is, whoever their preferred customers, they have created a group on WhatsApp. Each time they have a new collection of lehenga, choli, whatever comes up, or a new dress or a new equipment, they just send those messages across to the preferred customer net within WhatsApp. And they have been clocking in sales of 5 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever we are talking about in terms of the business. Now, that's the power of the net, which is people are figuring it out themselves. The first thing within this 235, which is going to go to 55, is this proliferation of mobile devices. 70 million mobile devices were shipped last year, and I think that number is only going to go double as we move forward from here. And this, as it moves forward, people figure it out. They realize that having a small connection of the internet, which will give them a reach into different parts of the world, people will start exploring. And once they start exploring, they'll figure out, and business will continue happening. If that is what individual users are doing, all of you and individual users are doing, then what is stopping companies from doing that? That's one of the questions which continuously baffles me. If individual users are trying to figure out how to use the net, how to use it on the mobile, then what is stopping companies from experimenting? Right? How much does it take really to master, harness, try to read, try to understand this medium? So the first thing on this 235 million is actually the proliferation of the handheld devices, tab, mobile, internet, whatever you call it. There's one more very important phenomenon happening on this net. The internet commerce in India in 2012 was about $8 billion, $8.5 billion. I don't know, multiply it in crores. In 2013, it went up and moved to about $16 billion. And I'm sure those multiples will continue. Now, there are not many companies in this country which are actually 90,000, 96,000 crores. There are not many companies in India which have that kind. I'm not saying it is one single company, but the medium is driving that business. It is not one-to-one. Majority of it is sales, majority of it is travels. There are other aspects of it. But when commerce starts happening onto the internet, that means it's a validation that people are accepting the medium. And it is only growing. So that's the second thing that you should realize about this user base. First is the growth and the proliferation of handheld devices. Second is the commerce. The third part, which is very, very interesting, is the advent of video. Trishul talked of YouTube, right? In TV, how many channels you have? 100 channels? 50 channels, depending upon what connections you have. The internet allows you to have access to thousands of channels. And the content which is available online or on TV is available to you on YouTube or any other channels or mediums or video platforms that are available. At least I can vouch for India that Google has contracts and tie-ups with content publishers, and anything which gets aired on TV is uploaded on YouTube in 3 hours. And this whole concept of catch-up TV is a big phenomenon. Very, very big phenomenon. So video is exploding on the net, and that's also what is adding to this whole story that we're talking about. in this user base. And finally, I think Trishul mentioned, right, the Facebook story. It's not my company, but you can't avoid it, right? 100 million users in India, 10 crore users. And how many of them are actually mobile only, launching on? People are nowadays getting onto the internet for Facebook rather than anything else. They buy an internet because their friends are on Facebook and they want to, I don't know, this concept sometimes baffles me. When your friend is around there, why do you want to chat with the person over Facebook? But that's how it is. These 4 trends define these numbers, and they will only set to grow, right? The advent or the proliferation of the mobile devices, the video demand, the commerce which is happening, as well as the social phenomena, as we call it. So that's what's behind those numbers, guys. This is the study that we did, and we'll talk a little bit about it. The numbers are big. For me, 170 billion makes real sense, right? This is something where Google should be doing something. And I'm sure that's an industry which you guys define. The number of users are growing, and they will set to grow. There has to be some link between the two. We decided to figure out whether there is what is the estimated effort that these internet users will have on the real estate business, and what is the pre-purchase cycle. Trishul talked about 3 phases, and I'm sure all of you caught on to that. That's very, very important. Awareness, consideration, and sale. We also talk of loyalty at times, right? After sales, because the internet or the digital world also allows you to build loyalty. We can discuss that at length and at any point in time, but all 4 stages of a sales cycle, the digital aspect can help you do that. So we decided to do this. It was a very simple exercise. We did not create anything out of the box. We decided to take 15 cities, do a run of about 7,000 people who were who wanted to buy a residential property, who want to rent a residential property or a commercial property, and we tried to do a quick bit of survey and tried to figure out whether these 2 phenomena are in any way overlapping, right? The first aspect is how big is this impact. We said we wanted to check on this impact. This was the first impact that we have. Whatever user base is already there on the internet, right? 89% of that are your customers, or basically whosoever, 89% of the entire user base who are actually trying to buy out or looking out for property are already there. That base is an overlapping base. So your TG, when we always talk of marketing, you want to create awareness, you want to build awareness, those guys are already there. The purchasing parity or whatever you talk about, that's already there and happening across from there. So the target audience is already online. I'm sure this is not a deeply insightful story, but still it validates across what we are talking about. This was interesting when we talk to people of how do you actually make decisions for your real estate purchases. For them, print, internet, typically what we were talking about, and sales brokers. And that is how they had the top 3 sources which they would want to make decisions with. So they will actually look at print. They will look at how does this, there is a stimulus story. We always say whenever you see a stimulus, whether it is a hoarding, whether it is a billboard, whether it is an ad, that acts as stimuli for you, and that's what you generally, the first thing that you generally do is you want to know more. If you like something, you would want to know more. And that know more, if you're able to find on the internet, that becomes a little bit of more consideration building and story happens. So that's happening, and if you want to conclude it. There is a concept which we generally talk about, ROPO, we'll talk about that in a little bit a while. But this was the other fact which we had. This is not an urban phenomenon. And I'm sticking to real estate only, right? We mentioned 250 million people. Trishul talked about the urban story, Sec A, Sec B, right? But there is a sizable amount of people who are coming onto the internet, are coming on from tier 2, tier 3 cities, and they are all coming through mobile, right? People who are searching, people who are driving and doing that. So this is not an urban phenomena. 57% or 48%, that's the division. So there's not too far off across of what we are talking about in terms of the internet overlap with what your industry should be looking at. These are the top cities where people are searching for real estate. I wish Nashik was there, but I'm sure it would be there, right? These are the top cities where actually the queries are happening, and depending upon how the real estate is moving, all the cities, if Modi's plan of 100 cities really come to fruition, I'm sure Nashik will be right there at the top, depending upon how we are headed from there, right? So that's the third part, query growth in these cities and people who are searching. Are we encashing that? I don't know how many, when Trishul said 150 or 15,000 queries, to what number has that multiplied over the year? I don't have that stat. But it would be interesting to know how it has grew over the last 1 year or last 2 years, queries which are happening in Nashik. Those is the impact from a true 50 million stories, the numbers of people that you are looking for, where we have, I'm sure there is a TG match. But what generally happens? Trishul talked of those 3 situations. We in Google talk and we say always in our own minds, zero moment of truth, right? And it's an interesting phenomena that starts off, the first thing that you do today, once you want to find about anything, is you try to search about it, then the search leads to more research, and before people usually go out to buy anything as important as an automobile, as important as a house or anything, their decisions more or less 50 or 60% are finalized. So that's the part which the internet stores about it. The query volumes in the internet space in India have gone to about 3x in the last 2 years. 1 in every 2 person who wants to buy property is searching online. So there is no 2 ways about that this medium can be ignored. 40% of those searches are coming through mobile, because mobile has made an intimate from there. And this is the other interesting part of it. People are spending more and more time on apps. The aggregator apps are probably where people are spending most of their time as well. So if it is a real estate, and specifically real estate, aggregator apps pertaining to you guys should be the area where you should be looking at positioning and trying to draw that. Now, the question can be, do I build apps? Not necessary. When a trend is happening that people are spending, 40% of the people are joining the internet through mobile, and most of the people are trying to spend their time on apps, the question is, are you actually leveraging that property within in-app or within those properties? Are you ensuring that you are in time and you're reaching your consumers at that point in time? So that's the part that should be leveraged across in terms of it. According to the census and according to the survey, 53% of the transactions were influenced. Now this influencing, in whichever capacity you might say, starts from the search, you look at it, this is the Ropo effect. Research online, purchase offline is the biggest phenomena which the internet is fueling. And if you're searching for something, you have found it, and you culminate your transaction offline, is what this is fueling across. So 53% of people who are buying property have actually made their searches, made those drives, and done things, whatever else is required. So the stats are arriving across from there, and it is not restricted to residential property. It is residential as well as commercial property in terms of how they are buying across. This would be one of an interesting story which you should all have a look at. 47% of the people, when they are searching for property, they are not searching for resale or built. They are undecided and it doesn't matter to them. That's the TGW that you should be looking at. So there is no consensus that you should start only at typically resale or residential. This will be important part of what people are actually doing on the internet when they are working across for real estate. Most of the time, they are spending time on websites or aggregators, typically your makan.coms, your 99acres.com. That's the builder websites. Why can't this be higher than that, or maybe that's the destination? Brokers and blogs. Now the question is, there's a link between all of them. I was talking to Hitesh. Hitesh is sitting around here. And Trishul also mentioned across the same thing, that Nirman was the only one which appeared in Nashik. I don't know how many of you have thought about or had looked at it. A simple strategy that Hitesh follows is he has ensured that he's present on all mediums. When you create a when you create a web chatter, so he has a small presence. He has his own website, of course. He has tried to do few things on Facebook. He has done his tie-ups or link-ups with the aggregators, typically that he's talking about. So all of the web chatter that he's trying to create is adding to his score, to his link, or whatever he's trying to do within those search. And that's why his search queries are higher and they are appearing within Nashik. It can't be one-pronged approach that you'll advertise at one area and one level. And I'm sure even when you're appearing on blogs, when people are talking and discussing, that creates the vibes. So look at it from a holistic standpoint, that when you are creating your presence on the web, the first standpoint, the first area that you will start is create your own presence, but you'll have to link that up and tie it back to your aggregators, to your brokers, to your portals, chats and blogs. And this is not going to be easy. One thing which most of the times comes back is digital marketing, or rather placing an ad on a TV. You buy a spot, you have a creative and you place an ad and that campaign is done. Print, you do a creative and that campaign is done. Digital advertising is a 24/7 job. And if you're not ready for it, okay, you will not gain as much traction as you move forward from it. Because there are people who are investing time and energies. People who do SEO marketing, search engine optimization, typically are reviewing the pages, they are ranking every single day. When you're looking at SCMs, there are optimizations happening every single day. If you want to create Twitter handles, Facebook pages, and you want to create the buzz and the like, you'll have to keep updating content every day. So it's a 24/7 job, and you'll have to tie that back, typically. But what is so compelling if it is so difficult? The idea is the cost. It's today the most cost-effective medium which ties back your ROI. Digital marketing, if you spend 100 rupees, you can calculate it back and say, what was the cost for a site visit? What was the cost for a lead? What was the cost for one click? I'm just going backwards if site visit was your ultimate criteria that you want to do that. So cost per site visit, cost per lead, cost per click, cost per impression onto the internet, how many times your ads were served. All of that is measurable, and you can then keep on tuning it. So it's a difficult 24/7 job, but it is measurable, and at this point in time, pretty affordable. As much as more you can do it. Right? So those are the two areas apart from the reach, the targeting, whatever else normally a marketer would require. In depth, typically this was something which all this said, why are they searching and why are they researching online? Price comparisons, they can do much better. They do in-depth information of properties, the contacts are correct, financial documents are there, it's one-stop solution for everything. Now this goes for simplicity's sake, this is pretty apparent, but have a look at your websites. Do these 4 components are satisfied? Do you really provide all of this information at your website or at one-stop destination which helps a buyer, user? Because it is difficult to get one person to your destination. Is it possible that he gives everything what he requires at the destination at one stop and point? If that is what they want, you'll have to work towards and ensure that your destination has all of these situations at any given point in time. If you look at brokers vis-a-vis website, so I'm just classifying these into 3 segments: the developer websites, the online brokers, and the aggregators. And that was the response that we have had. The brokers are much more attuned, but the developers and the aggregators have areas where they can work and develop and build a little bit more upon in terms of the customer reactions that we have had. This is just a survey. The reason I'm sharing this with you guys is this gives you some inkling as to what the user is trying to do on the web. We all talk of internet, we can all talk of products, but generally we forget about the people themselves who are visiting the internet, what they are trying to do, where they are dropping off, what is ticking them off, what is making them move forward and doing that. And these little nuggets of information is what generally we discount. But if you have volume, if you have traffic, and when you will actually start getting onto your real digital marketing campaign, data analysis, deep diving into all of that,